Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another dispatch. And I'm going to continue with the book Power and Presence, a Handbook for Painting in Our Time that just came out and is available. And I am going to move into section one, Possibilities for a Life with Paint. And it's just one chapter in section one, The Painting Journey. And I think some of you may have heard me uh, give a talk on the painting journey last few years. You can find it, I think, on YouTube, a few versions of it. And I lightly edited that talk into this first chapter. So I'll read from some of this and see how far we go. And are we recording? Yes, we are. We've got sound. Okay. Chapter one, the painting journey. When I was young, I had the good fortune of going to a public high school that actually had oil paint stocked in the art room. Lois, the teacher, taught us how to stretch canvas, prime with rabbit skin glue and real gesso, and how to begin to use the paint. I was in 10th grade. It was a revelation. My first painting was of Mark Twain. I copied a photograph I found in a National Geographic magazine. My painting didn't look much like Twain, but it did look a good bit like my father. As it turned out, it was Lois's last year teaching. The instructor who replaced her was into fiber arts. Didn't know much about oil paint, and so I proceeded to try to teach myself. It was slow going, but I loved it. In college, I was a biology major. I took studio art classes every quarter to feed my soul. And eventually my soul said that I should follow my heart. My heart was in love with painting. I didn't think about being an artist. I just wanted to paint. And that was more or less the beginning of my painting journey. I really had no plan and no idea of what it would entail. Looking back, it would have been helpful if someone had been able to explain a bit about what to expect. I don't mean about making it as an artist financially. Yes, that would have been helpful, although I do believe we have put too much emphasis on commercial success as a sign of a successful, meaningful life in paint, but more about that later. I mean, what to expect from the painting journey itself. That's what I'd like to elaborate on in this first section. I'll start with the main stages of the painting journey: the gathering stage, the integration stage, and the stage of pursuit, describing each one in a general way. We'll then focus on the transition from the stage of integration to the stage of pursuit. What happens and what does that call for? We'll look at some of the important aspects of this last stage, pursuit, and what they may lead to. Generally speaking, when we think of great painters, we tend to think of this last stage of pursuit, which is their mature exploration, even if their work goes through many earlier changes and permutations. For developing painters, it's hugely helpful and perhaps critical to be familiar with and get a handle on the first two parts, gathering and integration. Each stage has its own particular goals and challenges, and it's important not to confuse them. The gathering stage consists of skill development, learning how to draw, how to paint, how to work from observation and create a convincing rendition on a flat surface. Proportions, geometry, learning how to mix color and find tonal relationships, how to handle the paint, how composition works, a basic familiarity of the materials and how to use them. During this stage, we're integrating our system, our eyes, hands, brain, materials, thinking, and feeling. We're learning to see. At this time, I would also recommend an engagement with non-representational painting and exploring the more intuitive and open-ended ways of working, becoming familiar with what that feels like. Handling large amounts of material, courting accident, playing, and risk-taking. Along with this should come a basic familiarity of the world of painting, art history, the great painters, past and present, and where your own affinities lie. Which painters strongly inspire you, make you want to paint, and in a sense, turn out to be your painting family? You begin to learn about your own personal painting lineage and who alive today is participating in that way. During the gathering stage, it's important to work with lots of different teachers and to be influenced by them. The more the better. Exposure is key. If you have two or more teachers that you feel close to and who also contradict each other, that's gold. It forces you to figure out and wrestle with those conflicting attitudes. What sort of combination is most fitting for you? One of the dangers of this in this time of gathering is mistaking the goal of one stage for that of another. Since we're involved during this stage with skill development, we may take the mastery of realistic depiction as the ultimate goal of painting, as opposed to an extremely helpful set of skills to help us move further on our path. This confusion may inhibit the kinds of deep exploration and experimentation that may be necessary for us in order to find our most satisfying way of working. Which is not to say that realism for some may be their actual path in making powerful work. But for others, it may be only a very helpful skill set. Which brings us to the next stage, integration. During the integration stage of the painting journey, as a developing painter, you begin to put together your own way of working, your own sense of direction, abstract or representational, working from observation or memory, thick or thin, spontaneous discovery or planned compositions, or some combination. Your own ways of marking. You begin an in-depth exploration of your way, exploring what you care about, where you live internally as you paint. What's your energy like? Do you work more analytically or intuitively? Do you, do you work with a more closed form or a more open form? A flat space or a full space? Are your drivers more emotional, philosophical, perceptual, political, or spiritual? Or a combination of any or all of these? All of this takes time. Drawing, making lots and lots of drawings, is a great way to explore this territory. It's fast. It's not precious. It's cheap. You could cover a lot of ground fairly quickly. You are experimenting and exploring. Generally speaking, this is what a lot of graduate school programs are about, providing the space and time for painters to be able to do just this, experiment and explore. Often, when grad students are too focused on producing finished expert work, their teachers try to break all that down in order to help the student discover deeper, perhaps less superficial, ways of painting. For myself, my gathering stage, not counting high school, but from the first college course through the time I was on my own and putting the pieces together, was about 14 years. My integration stage lasted about 6 years. Of course, I was younger, so part of what contributed to the amount of time was simply due to learning about myself, who I was as an adult, and what I cared about. Eventually, through this hands-on path of making, you start to find your own way. It takes courage because your way is really just yours. You truly are the only authority in the end that matters. You begin to become familiar with your own personal set of questions as a painter. What am I trying to achieve when I paint? What am I looking for? What do I actually care about? These questions become the drivers of our work, which leads us to our pursuit, which is another way of naming our mature exploration. A successful painting path is not one that provides answers. It's one that endlessly pursues meaningful questions, one's whole life long. Maybe a little more. This framing of questions is a good way to describe the transition from the stage of integration to the stage of pursuit. The clarification of our own essential questions is a way to describe the experience of, oh, this is what I care about. It's where our life force dwells naturally, unbidden and unforced. It's what moves us, drives us, and compels us. Lucian Freud, as a young man in his 30s, wrote about the need to cultivate one's obsession. As that develops, the obsession becomes one's discipline. Quote, the painter makes real to others his innermost feelings about all that he cares for. A secret becomes known to everyone who views the picture through the intensity with which it is felt. The painter must give a completely free rein to any feelings or sensations he may have and reject nothing to which he is naturally drawn. It is just this self-indulgence which acts for him as the discipline through which he discards what is inessential to him and so crystallizes his tastes. A painter's tastes must grow out of what so obsesses him in life that he never has to ask himself what it is suitable for him to do in art. The great painters throughout time are the ones who ask questions that have no final answer. Asking unresolvable questions as we work drives us forward. Cezanne strove to create an image that would integrate the relentless flux of experience together with the unchanging and eternal present moment. Giacometti ceaselessly tried to put into paint the invisible quality of a person's presence. Rembrandt yearned to make paintings that express the endless depths of human pathos and love. The answers, that is, the paintings, which come as a response to these questions are, for these painters, tentative solutions, which give way to another round of questions. A painter friend of mine, Mayer Appelfeld, once said that painters are trying to paint the invisible. Well, how does one do that? Okay, I'm going to stop there. Uh, I'll read something from another section next week. Give a little taste of what the book has. A lot of different aspects, facets. The writing changes. And anyway, okay. I hope you're all well and making stuff. And I look forward to hearing from you. All right. Be well. Take care.